What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta and you're here with D-Boy. As you can see, the top 8 playmat for Standard for the Bushido Championship Series 2019. This one was in France, actually, in Mouvaux. And I was able to get in 6th on the Swiss, so 7-0 or 7-1 was my score. And then I lost the top 8 match because of Standard. I didn't get enough triggers, so I didn't have enough shield, and he wanted to pass my Vanguard and I didn't able to go through. But he was a very good player, he deserved the win, and I think he got in 4th. He wasn't able to qualify for Worlds, which is a little bit sad, but I hope next time he will do better. And I had actually an amazing day playing Standard. I didn't expect myself enjoying Standard that much, but playing this deck, of course, Spike, you know me, you know what deck I will play. I am experiencing the format a little better because the deck needs more skills and anticipation to the match to play it. The choice you make between Force 1 and Force 2 is something that is not that easy to do. So a lot of good things, deck building, deck strategies, going into the match, rushing, not rushing, killing them fast, going first, going second. So many different things change a lot during this format, let's say, with the second wave of support for Spike Brothers. And this deck became way more interesting and way more skill-based deck to play than others would expect it to be. Also, the deck choices that you make will change depending on the format you play in. And because the format that we are now in, like you have Pale Moon, you have Shadow Paladin, you have Mura, which actually are so good, so strong for the format. Some people would say, well, Spike Brothers does not have a chance going against some of these clans, but yes, it does. And I hope that this proves a little bit that doesn't matter which deck you play, as long as you enjoy the deck, you play tested a lot, you can go and get to the top 8. So enough about all of that. First of all, before I go into the deck list, I would like to thank all of you guys that did help us to participate in the French, let's say, tournament, the Bushido Championship tournament in Mouvaux. The judges, shout out to all of them. Most of them are my friends as well. Shout out to all of my friends from France who gave us a welcoming feeling going there. We always enjoy, we make a kind of a vacation out of it. We book a hotel, we enjoy the food, we enjoy the people, we talk to the community there and see how they're doing, and they have an amazing community in France, so I love to see that. Also, we saw different fights, so Chris from different fights. We also saw Maxime from Solomon Vanguard. We saw Eric from Vanguard Insider. So it was amazing to see different YouTubers. Crushing Yahagikyo, of course, always a shout out to him as well. Daniel, also one of my good friends. But also the people that went with me, like Fira, Sparkles, Jeroen, Daniel, Chris, and all of the others. I would like to thank you, Dave, of course. I would like to thank you all for being there and having fun with us during the tournament. So enough about all of that. Let's go first through the deck, and after that I will tell you my matchups and then also talk a little bit about the deck. I'm sorry you don't see my face. As you know, I don't really like making videos when you can see my face, but if you guys really want to see that as well, I'll try to make those videos. But really, I want to put the focus on Spike Brothers right here and not on me. So it's just a top 8 for Spikes, and I'm very happy to be able to do that for you guys. So let's get into the deck profile. After that, I will talk about my matchups and also the deck choices I made. Alright, so going through the grade 3s of the deck, let's start with that. I play 4 copies of Bull Spike, as it is the card that sets the tone for your rights. So let's say, I've talked about this before, and I'll also put the link in the description section below, because I explained the choice between going for Force 1 or Force 2, depending actually on multiple different things. First of all, your first and second right target, both of them are important to choose your marker. Of course, the matchup, the deck you play against is the deck that is very strong in the late game, so you need to kill them earlier, is the deck that you could go to the late game with. And also, last but not least, the field, the hand, the damage they have makes a big difference. Is the deck that could afford not giving you damage but still kill you, so then you would rather choose between Force 1 and Force 2. I will not say when to choose which, because there would be a long ass video. If you guys are still struggling with that, I will try to make a video to talk about it, but I just told you what are the things that you have to keep in mind while going for Force 1 and Force 2. For the second grade 3 rerun in this deck is of course the 4 Bad and Dragger. Of course, get these in SP, they look amazing if you could afford them. Bad and Dragger is a very important card to have in a deck. As I said, I will explain afterwards what the card does and also why I chose to put them in here. And last but not least, for the grade 3 lineup, we add in 2 copies of General Siegfried, of course the SVR to fit in with the theme. Yeah, that card is amazing, and as I said, I will go and talk about each and every card later on. Just give me a second to go first through the deck. For the grade 2 lineup, and this would be a little bit strange for some of you guys, but it is because of my playstyle that I play 4 copies of Spike Bouncer and then only 2 copies of Ronaldo. Okay, I think most of you guys maybe would not agree with me on this, but there is a big reason why I do this, and also, as I said, I will explain it later. Then we add in 6 beat sticks, so we run 6 cards that give you advantage, and then 6 beat sticks as 2 copies of Provoke Needle, and then of course the 4 copies of the Baraki. So that's it for the grade 2 lineup. Those are 12 grade 2s, and then of course the 9 grade 3s. Then for the grade 1s, and this is something that I changed. I didn't want it to look like this, but I changed it. I took the Wonder Boy out, and the deck became like this. Playing 4 copies of Offensive Punter, then adding in 3 copies of Commander Gary Cannon, and then 3 copies of Gyro Slinger, and then of course only 2 copies of Devil. So Snapper Devil, I always play him at 2. I think the card is amazing to play at 2. Gyro Slinger is a card that I add in later. It's because that my Wonder Boys did not stay on the field. Most of my opponents just kill them or put them back to the deck because of the format that we have, and he was a very, like, the first target they choose to get rid of. So I lost the soul that Wonder Boy gives me, and at the same time I lost that Vanguard that like recycle itself. And also getting the Wonder Boy in the early game doesn't do much, while Commander Gary Cannon does a lot, and getting it in the late game also doesn't do much because he will not go into your soul because they will kill him before that. That's why the Gyro Slinger became very important to have in the deck, and the same for Commander Gary Cannon. And I think that most of you guys would agree with me to put Punter at 4. It's one of the cards that also makes attacking with your Bad and Dragger better, because he makes the right numbers with Bad and Dragger. Alright, the grade 0s. I think this is something that people should still do, which is playing the 4 draw PGs, of course, 4 heals, and then all out crits. I do not like the 6 crit, 6 draw, or any of the other versions, whatever you want to call them. I play one Sonic Break for because I still have him and I like to play at least one. But of course we have her, which is the new crit we have in the deck, which the art is amazing. The details on this card is just so good, like her finger where she's holding the cup is like this, and the ball is like floating, and even the name. And if you play Vanguard EX, you know also the way she attacks is just amazing. As I said, I did not like a variant or version of decks that look, let's say, with different trigger lineup, because some people would like to play the draws to add in. But if you play the draws, then I hope you're focusing on Force 2, because if you're focusing on Force 1 and you're playing more draws, then I don't know what's going through your head, but doesn't look like a good strategy to me. But prove me wrong. Again, prove me wrong if you think that I am wrong. Okay, so going through the matchups, as you can see, I made this. I didn't want to make a fancy picture that comes on screen, so I will do it just the old-fashioned way. So I hope that you guys enjoy this as well. The rounds, we had 8 rounds of Swiss. As I said, I went X1, so 7-1, and we had about 190 players, which is amazing to have in Europe, because I know that the tournaments in the US and even in Asia are bigger than Europe, but the tournaments in Europe are getting bigger and bigger, especially the ones in the UK and in France. They are so good and so big. Also, the judges on this tournament were amazing. I've loved that the way that they handle things. They were calm, they talked to each other, so I'm very happy with that. Of course, also thanks to Steven for being there, and also there was also the girl that came in from Japan, if I'm not mistaken. I always forget her name, but she knows my name, which is stupid for me to forget the names, but I'm very bad with names. Okay, let's go into the matchups. First game was against Aqua Force. Aqua Force is a match that I did practice a lot. Why? Because I find Aqua Force a very strong clan. Like Jeroen in our group from CTM, he plays Aqua like a monster, and he did so good both days, like in standard and premium was amazing. He just unlucky to get the top 8. I think 16th place and something in the 20s, but on the second day, first and second day, so that was amazing. But Aqua Force is the match that I do practice. I think the clan is really good if played right, so it was a hard match, but I was able to win it. The second game was against Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi is a deck that takes you into the late game, which is something that Spike now could do, but Spike has like a better early game, a better mid game. They just have a better late game. So if you kind of put the pressure high from the start, then they will lose most of their combo pieces, and you have to keep in mind the amount of damage they have. And the third game I had to go against Aqua Force again. The guy I played against was very unlucky. He set on the wrong grade 3, which didn't even have a marker and stuff, the one that you put on the axle circle to have more power. I don't remember all the names, but I know all the cards, how they look like, and the skills. As I said, I'm bad with names, but that was a win as well. Then I had to play against Mura, and that was a very strange matchup, which I noticed that he didn't had enough shield in his hand. And because of that, I punished him with attacking too much in the early game, and I think I won before he even went to grade 3, but because I went first and I went Siegfried and I powered up my field and had Force 2, but again, the guy was also unlucky to soul charge his PG, because if he had the PG in hand, then that would make things different. Then I lost against Shadows. Well, we all know how Shadows win their games, by having a lot of advantage, having that big ass grade 3 monster out there which you cannot guard. The thing is, what I did on that match, I kept enough shield, so I put myself at 5 damage but kept enough shield to be able to stop all of his attacks. But in his drive check, I calculated him having 1 trigger and putting, like, he had 3 markers beneath a grade 3, and the grade 3 also get extra 10k, so that is 53, and I calculated 1 trigger, which is 63, so I calculated myself guarding to like 75 or 78. But he got 2 triggers, a crit and a heal, and put everything on that grade 3, of course, and he killed me in that turn. So that was a little bit sad. I kind of calculated in a different way, but it happens, it's Vanguard. And then I had to play against Dark, so Dark Irregulars. It was interesting to see that guy plays Darks again. I have played against him last year, and it's just amazing to play against him. He guarded way too early, way too much. Also lost some of his PGs because he didn't want my commanding air cannon to hit, stuff like that, like the hit abilities. After that, when we went into the late game, he was unlucky to have the right amount of cards in his hand to put a strong and okay turn out there. Also, I didn't have enough rare guards, so he could not use his new VR skill to retire something from the field to get the extra power and the extra crit. From that moment on, I was able to win because of my good early game. And then I had to play against Mura yet again. Again, Mura is a match that I do practice a lot, so it was okay for me to win that match as well. And in the last rounds of Swiss, I had to play against Royals. The guy that I won against, which I won that match, also was able to get to the top 8. So actually that match did not maybe matter for him, but it did for me, because if I lost that match, then I would not have, maybe I would not have gone into the top 8. So that match was kind of strange. He played the different variant of Royals. He focused more on having power on the field. Also, he didn't have enough Gary 3s to ride multiple times, so I was like destroying his blast blades one by one until he had none left. And he used the great ones that Soul Blast to get power, but on his last turn he mistaked one of the souls. So he used one of the skills without Soul Blasting, and I didn't notice it, but I thought, well, okay, no problem. And also, when he finished his turn, he thought that was the last turn, but we went into timeout and I had the last turn. So it didn't really matter because I was sitting on less damage than him. So it was my turn, and then I said like I could just end turn and still win. So I gave him a hand and I said I think I won. And the judges were like, yep, right, because it was already timeout and he was turn 2 and I was turn 3. So he didn't even notice that we were on timeout, but I already said like turn 0. But it didn't really matter because he didn't have that much shield in his hand, so he accepted it, and we went into the top 8. Both of us went to the top 8, so that was cool. It was very cool to see Royals doing so well. In the top 8, I had to play against Shadows yet again, the same guy I lost against. So Shadows, again, another loss. That match went way different. I did so well in that match. I pushed him very hard and he had a low hand during the whole game. In the last turn, he wanted to passes me. I don't remember exactly, but I thought so because I also talked to Arnold afterward. He wanted to passes me and I didn't get a trigger. Then I used the skill of my Vanguard, of course, Bull Spike, to draw a card. Then I also used the skill of Offensive Punter to draw another card, so I had 4 cards in hand and none of them were triggers. So the top 4 of my deck was no triggers. Then he attacked me and he top decked Masquerade, put the Masquerade to get out the Blast of Dark, and they gave him an extra marker. That marker made a big difference. So I could take 1 damage, so because I was on 4. So he hit me with the 1 damage and I needed a trigger. I just needed a trigger to be able to guard everything. A trigger in my drive check, a trigger in my hand, like the 15k shield was good, or just a trigger in my damage check, and I got nothing. So I could not guard the other attacks. I let it through, there were no heals. Miracle heal would have been nice, but there were no heals, and I lost that game and kicked out of the top 8. So that was actually the tournaments for me. Okay, so let's go back and talk a little bit about the deck, how you could change the deck around to be more of your playstyle. As I said, for the trigger lineup, I do not advise you to play less crits. At least if you want to, then I would think that you will focusing more on Force 2. Then it's understandable to play, let's say, less crits and more draws. But if you're not, if you're focusing more on Force 1 or keeping the deck, giving the deck the options to go Force 1 or Force 2, then I would advise you to play at least 7-8 crits, no less. Okay, for the great ones, as I said, I took the Wonder Boy out of the deck because the deck normally looked differently. Like you have the 4 Offensive Punter, then you have the 4 copies of Wonder Boy, and then you have the 2 copies of Snapper Devil. And the last 2 great ones you put in here could be anything. You could put more Snapper Devils, you could be Gyro Slinger, you could be the new Jackie, great one that also put cards into the soul. But I changed it because, as I said, Wonder Boy did not stay for long on the field. And having the Offensive Pincer and the Snapper Devil give you 6 bright targets, which is amazing. And then, because you play Gyro Slinger and you play the 4 copies of Spike Bouncer, you could get advantage from Gyro Slinger, because call the Gyro Slinger, put a card from your hand in your soul, which you need for your Bull Spike, Then you get out Gyro Slinger, and Gyro Slinger will Soul Blast the same card to get you even more field. You attack first with Gyro Slinger, and Gyro Slinger will go into the soul, which will give you the soul again to use for Bull Spike. So the Gyro Slinger and Bull Spike and the Spike Bouncer have a very nice synergy. Also with Ronaldo, but especially with Spike Bouncer, because Spike Bouncer work even if he's called from the deck. Talking about Ronaldo, talking about Spike Bouncers, and just a card that you could draw in the early game is Commander Gary Cannon. Commander Gary Cannon is a card that gives the deck consistency. We all know about that, but still, because I play 4 copies of Spike Bouncer, I could afford playing Commander Gary Cannon. Because I play Gyro Slinger, I could rather play Commander Gary Cannon than Wonder Boy. So it's just like you have the mix of the build of the deck, and it just need to work together. Commander Gary Cannon and Wonder Boy, what's the better card? I would say Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy is a better card, but which card works better in this deck? Commander Gary Cannon. So that's why when you build your deck, your choices need to work together, and that's when you have a good balance in your deck. This deck had a very nice synergy. Like the matches I lost were because I was unlucky. The matches I won was because strategizing. Okay, some matches my opponent were unlucky, but again, even if they were lucky, it didn't say that I would have not won. And that's also the reason why this deck is so good, because you play it too much. I love playing Spike, and I play it a lot, like too much actually. And because of that, you practice your matchups and you build your deck around that meta. So that's why the great ones look like this. It's not of my choice. I didn't start it looking like this. Most of my friends know that I would rather play Wonder Boy, but again, I took him out to play the better deck. Talking about the Ronaldo, of course, and the Spike Bouncer. Okay, there is a big difference between these two bitches, and most of you guys would prefer playing Ronaldo. I still prefer playing Spike Bouncer. Spike Bouncer is better in the deck if you play Gyro Slinger, because Gyro Slinger could get him out of the deck and you could still use his ability. Spike Bouncer works better with Ronaldo, but Ronaldo does not work with Ronaldo, because if you get Ronaldo gets a Spike Bouncer, you could use that for your advantage to get like the draw power from Spike Bouncer, or to get one more Vanguard on the field, depending on how your field looks like and how your hand looks like. So you could like get out one Ronaldo, and Ronaldo will fill up the whole field. If you get a Ronaldo, and with Ronaldo you get a Spike Bouncer or a Gyro Slinger, even better. You do not have to use the Spike Bouncer ability, the first one, but you could use the second one, which will give you more soul, and also would still get you the cards back to your hand for more defensive turn. Because against Narukami, against Murakumo, against even Shadows, like some decks, Kagero, a lot of decks just take out your field, and because of that you want to win the advantage back. So that's the reason why I play more Spike Bouncers. You could also take a Spike Bouncer to play a Ronaldo, that works, but not in a deck that you play Gyro Slinger. So again, the synergy between having these 6 cards that give you advantage is just amazing, and in this deck, this works better. In some decks, for Ronaldo, 2 Bouncer would work better, and in some decks 3-on-3. But if I were you, I would not play 3-on-3. I would choose between playing 4-on-2 or 4-on-2, depending on how your deck look like. But just have a game plan for yourself. Which one do you want to write first? For me, I want to write Spike Bouncer and just have the +1 on the field without losing cards from my hand. And the Ronaldo comes in handy later in the game when you need the soul, you have the counterblast, and you just want to fill up your field. So against Narukami, against Murakumo, no problem, Ronaldo fixes it, but not in the early game. For the beat sticks, of course we play the 4 copies of Braki. I mean, do we really have to explain what this rabbit could do? It's just amazing, the power he has, going back, putting him to your soul to call a new one, and he's just a target out there for your opponent to kill. I do say that Braki is less good without Wonder Boy, because Wonder Boy always put the Braki back to your deck and you call the Braki. But again, in this format, Braki will not stay for long on the field. But having him in the early game, meaning he could just fill out your soul and be just so high on attacking. And then, of course, you combine him with Needle. Needle is the other beat stick you need. Whenever you run out of Brakis, you go to Needle. Needle is also a card that gains the extra 10k even in your opponent turn, as long as a marker is beneath it. and that does make a big difference, especially going force 2. Your needles and your brackies are cards that makes a big difference. For the grade 3 lineup, as I explained, Bull Spike is important, and if you do not play him at 4, then your deck are looking very different. Like when you play the new common grade 3, the Mouvaux, or you're playing the what's his name again, the Burrow. If you play those two, then I understand you focusing more on Siegfried. Or if you're a Siegfried fan, I'm also a Siegfried fan, but still I would rather play the deck more focused on Bull Spike. Riding Bull Spike first give you advantage if you go force 2. Riding Bull Spike second give you advantage if you go force 1. But it's not as simple as that. It does need, you do need to know what your second right target is. So if your first right target is Bad and Dragger, and your second right target is General Siegfried, and your third right target is Bull Spike, you need to know that the deck could go that long. If not, then you could use General Siegfried or Bad and Dragger to be your first right target, and then your second right target will be Bull Spike, and from that moment on you go Bull Spike, Bull Spike, Bull Spike, and you do not go back to something else. If you could afford doing that, then you will go for force 1. Let's say that you want to go force 2 and want to pressure your opponent early game. You go Bull Spike, and after that you go to General Siegfried. You do not want to ride into Bad and Dragger, only the first right targets. So that's like a quick explanation of when you go force 1 or force 2. But one more important fact is, of course, your opponent's hand, field, damage. If they have a very, let's say if they have a lot of cards in their hand, then it's stupid to go force 2. Because if they will not guard those attacks, your attacks later on in the game will become weaker, and they will be able to guard those. And you will not get the advantage back, because your General Siegfried turn will work once, because after that you will run out of counterblasts to use. If your opponent does not give you counterblasts, then it's also stupid to go force 2 and then go to General Siegfried and try to finish them off with force 2, because you cannot generate power. You do not have Juggernaut, you only have 4 brackies, and you do not have Wonder Boy. So do not think, oh, the deck will give me power. No, the deck will not give you power, because you do not play that much beat sticks in the deck. So do not expect the deck to do something it was not built to do. So in this deck, you will mostly go force 1. But I've won like maybe half of my matches playing force 2 because I took my opponent by surprise and they did not expect me going force 2. Even like with Bull Spike as a first right target, you go force 2 and then you just kill them. You go General Siegfried and you go force 2 and you just kill them. From that moment on, you could ride into a Bull Spike. I have done that with having two force 2 markers but did not move them. Why did I do that? Because my opponent was on 5 damage and they would not take the General Siegfried attack anyway, so why not go to Bull Spike and have some pluses out of Bull Spike ability that the attack will not hit and you draw cards. So you could, like, there are a lot of things you could do in this deck, just be smart about it. So Bull Spike, of course, at 4, as I said, then we play the 2 General Siegfrieds and we play the 4, or in this case, only 3 Bad and Draggers. I think that most of you guys understand what Siegfried is capable of as a first right target if you go force 1, as a second right target if you go force 2, and the things that you could do with all of these counterclasses is crazy. The cards we do really need to talk about is the Bad and Dragger. Some people confuse Bad and Dragger with Juggernaut, and some people think that the Juggernaut is better, some people think that the Bad and Dragger is better. When is which better? Well, there is a simple explanation, and I will use that. You have your ability of the General Siegfried. If you combine that with Force 2 and your Juggernaut Maximum, then your field will get 20k more power, even more, 25k more power. Why and how does that work? Okay. If let's say you have Bad and Dragger and you have General Siegfried and you have 1 counterblast, or let's say 2 counterblasts to use, or let's say the advantage you get just from 1 counterblast. The 1 counterblast means that if you use it to get the ability of Bad and Dragger, then you gain only extra 5k and a crit. But she would rather use the skill of General Siegfried to put the Bad and Dragger to call a new one and get extra 20k on the field, which is 15k difference. But let's say you have two counterblasts, so you use the skill of General Siegfried to put the Bad and Dragger into your soul, and you get out a Bad and Dragger. Both of them will get extra 10k. Whenever this attacks, you get an extra 5k. That would make a 15k on this column and a 10k on this column. Okay, let's say you do the same but with a Juggernaut. Let's get my Juggernaut out of my binder, which is very easy to do because my binder is next to me. Of course, the Juggernaut will be original rare. Yeah? Okay. Let's say you do the same but now with the Juggernaut. Let's say you have the two counterblasts, or let's say we use one. Why not? So let's say you use one counterblast. The one counterblast will mean that you will have on this column 20k because the 10k from himself and the 10k from General Siegfried. So that's only 5k more than Bad and Dragger. So people will say, hey, that's only 5k more. No, that's not right, because you have one more counterblast to use with General Siegfried, which means on the other Vanguard. And that would mean that General Siegfried will get extra 10k and the other Vanguard will get extra 10k. So it's 5k from this column, 10k from this column, and a 10k from this column, meaning that the difference between Juggernaut Maximum and a Bad and Dragger is not the 5k, it's a 25k. 25k shield more for your opponent to use in that turn. And that's why people play Juggernaut Maximum. I recommend playing Juggernaut Maximum if you build your deck more around Force 2. Then, so that's the good thing about Juggernaut Maximum. And of course, him being an original rare. I mean, look at him. Okay, then we have the Bad and Dragger. When is this card good? It's when you go Force 1. If you have like 3 or 4 markers to move around, even 2, then the Juggernaut Maximum still will do 1 damage. Well, the Bad and Dragger will do 2 damage because he has the crit. So it's like you're playing Force 1 and Force 2 in the same deck. And that's why Bad and Dragger, in my opinion, is the better choice if you're playing a deck which is more flexible. Also, riding into Juggernaut Maximum is something you don't want to do, while riding into Bad and Dragger is a good thing. If you play Ronaldo, you could also play Bad and Dragger. You get triggers to the field, you put them back with Bad and Dragger. You have no brackets left, you put them back with Bad and Dragger. You don't want your opponent to retire your field, put it back with Bad and Dragger. I mean, hell, he could even put himself back if you want to, which is stupid, don't do that, but you could. Okay, so I think and I hope that kind of did explain the deck for you guys. Again, if you guys want me to do more explanation on using Force 1 or Force 2, let me know, I will do that as well. The next video will also be on the second top 8 I got on the second day for premium. I got then top 4. I am not sad that I didn't qualify for Worlds this year because I will not be there in the UK. I think it's okay because I wanted to prioritize or put my priority for college because I'm on my last year for college and my presentation will be somewhat in January. So I didn't want to pressure myself into testing more Vanguard and playing more Vanguard and not focusing on college. Next year, guys, you will see me in Worlds, and I hope that I could do better than 9th place, especially for spikes. Just put spikes in the top 8 and even feather and maybe be the champion for you guys. That would be nice. Okay, that would be all for this video. I would like to thank you all for watching our videos. I appreciate all the support that you guys. I'm sorry about some videos that are too long, but again, I just enjoy doing these videos for you guys. Again, if you really want to see my face in the videos, you should let me know, but I want my focus to be on Spike and not on me as a player, because for me, I just want to represent Spike and it's not about my name. Okay guys, thanks again for watching and till next time.